Is intended for mature audiences only. The opinions expressed by the hosts and audience members are their own and are not connected to or reviewed in advance by Warehouse38.tv. Any issues arising from this webcast or its contents should be directed to the individual commentators. Warehouse38.tv is not responsible for the veracity of any of the following content.
Modern Pagan TV is dedicated to education about modern pagan religions and is committed to the protection, welfare, and guardianship of the rights of all people to worship as their hearts and minds dictate. Modern Pagan TV considers education of the non-pagan public and of our own world community about pagan religions to be of paramount importance and encourages open dialogue across all platforms with the understanding that all voices have an equal right to be heard. Modern Pagan TV encourages participation in multiple spiritual events as the tradition and the individual deems appropriate, and maintains that courtesy and open-mindedness and not denigration are paramount to any discussion. So sit back or join in. Modern Pagan TV is streaming live.
The pitch got higher, all the drums went out to the edge, and it got higher, and it got loud, and the girls were out screaming and, shrieking and dancing. And when it got to this peak, it just stopped, dead silence. It was beautiful.
Good evening. Oh, that wonderful studio audience tonight. Huh?
Yes, yeah.
It must be the April, must be the spring. Everybody's getting woo.
And all the great guests we have.
Oh,
tonight.
well, that's, boy, we have guests lined up to the yin yang. Yeah, that's wonderful. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Laura McKenzie, and
I'm Jacqueline Weller.
And welcome to Modern Pagan TV. If you're watching us live, the chat room is up, and so please join in the chat. And I noticed we already have some people in there chatting, so lovely, lovely. If you're watching us on YouTube or one of the live streams, then you can find our website at www.modernpagan.tv, all lower caps, Modern Pagan, one word. And you can also, we've archived all of our wonderful segments on there so everybody can watch them.
And there are a few specials up there, too.
Oh, I know.
Special things.
Should we tell them about them?
Yeah,
go ahead. No, you do. No, tell them.
Something that our wonderful producer, Jacques, taped several months back and only has now been able to get it up, finalized and up there. A very interesting segment at a tattoo parlor where people are experimenting with the use of piercing and pain to go into altered state. And
it's a very disturbing video. We should say this is not for the
little kids.
Little kids or
Right.
the weak-stomached.
It is definitely an adult video, but it's very interesting. It reminds me very much of the Native American ceremony of Sundance, where they also suspend themselves, go into an altered state. And this was done last Samhain. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So really interesting. So check that out. I know I had a very visceral reaction when I first saw it.
Well, it's not for most of us. I've got a very low pain threshold, so it's not anything I'm ever going to do spiritually. But for some people, it's a very interesting, mind-altering kind of event
Yeah.
to go through.
Yeah. I hear people afterwards, say, "Oh, I can hardly wait to go again."
Well, one of the guys on the tape said that.
I know, it's like, crazy. Okay. All right. So, really. So today we have body painting. We have talking about festivals. Jackie is going to do some wonderful Ask the Living Goddess. We have drumming, and we have two wonderful guests from Coven of the Witches. So let's start off with finding out what's going on with the stars today. I don't know about you, but my week has been...
Yeah, you really had a real treat. Well,
It's been a real...
For those of you who've been waiting for bated breath for Mercury retrograde to finally be over, I understand tomorrow, Wednesday, is our last day, and then it'll go back direct again. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, there's a little sneak preview of our body painting
Segment from
Yeah, it's coming up
a
here
little
shortly.
later today.
And so right now we're going to go to the astrology segment and find out what wonderful things are going to happen when Mercury goes
Direct.
My name is Kat Lundgren, and I would like to welcome you to Modern Pagan TV's Flying Through the Skies Astrological Report, a witch's view of the cosmos, for the week of April 1st, 2012. For our solar report, Aries is currently in the second decant of Aries, which is ruled by the sun. As the sun moves through the decants of a sign, the energy of the sun becomes more refined through the elemental triad. For example, Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars rules the first 10 degrees of the sign of Aries, or the first decant. Since the fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, when the sun first enters Aries, the first 10 degrees are ruled by the ruling planet of the sign of Aries, which is Mars. When the sun moves further into the sign of Aries, say 11 degrees through 20 degrees, it picks up the ruler of the second vibration of the element, which is the sun, as it rules Leo. And when it moves into the last decant, 21 to 30 degrees, it is in the decant ruled by Jupiter, the ruler of the last of the fire triad, Sagittarius. When Aries is in the first decant, it expresses in a fully Martian manner, fast and furious, taking no prisoners as it moves outwardly towards the second decant of the Martian energy, yields to solar rulership, taking the spotlight and dealing with ego issues, and it moves into the last decant. It shifts into the philosophical rulership of expansive Jupiter. Should this alchemical process not yield a refined product, then all of the Mars energy takes an unyielding stance, incorporating the ego and philosophical and spiritual energies to produce a fanatical ideology. Now for the moon report. We have a growing or waxing moon that comes to culmination with the full moon on Friday, April 6th, expressing through the sign of the scales, Libra. The moon is free from void of course action. Libra relates to the realm of relationships, and in particular, close and intimate relationships. The void of course moons during this week occur on Tuesday, April 3rd, at 5:47 a.m. All of these are Mountain Daylight Time, as the moon leaves Leo and enters Virgo at 5:53 the same day. Wednesday, April 4th at 9:37 p.m. until Thursday, April 5th at 7:32 a.m. when she enters Libra. Saturday, April 7th at 2:15 a.m. until 7:18 a.m. when she enters Scorpio. Now for the retrograde watch. Planets in retrograde. Currently, Mercury is retrograde at the start of the week, having backed up into Pisces during this retrograde cycle. Mercury goes direct on Wednesday, April 4th at 4:11 a.m., but we remain under the retrograde storm until Thursday, April 12th, when the remainder of the retrograde energy finally dissipates. Mars remains retrograde in Virgo until Saturday, the 14th of April. Saturn continues retrograde backward motion through Libra. Now for our planet tracker. Mercury is in Pisces. Venus moves from Taurus on Saturday the 7th into Gemini. Mars is in Virgo. Jupiter is in Taurus. Saturn is in Libra. Uranus is in Aries. Neptune is in Pisces. And Pluto is in Capricorn. For our magical timing and moon rites, With the full lunar, solar, and planetary aspects, and because we are still in the storm phase of the retrograde Mercury, the best use of this moon is in addressing balance in our lives between what we need to fulfill our purpose and what we are called to do in the world and in service. There's a strong drive to communicate outwardly, but we must first converse with ourselves. Rites that emphasize an inner awareness and are moving forward in the coming weeks are supported, as are our looking at our roles in personal relationships and our responsibilities towards them. Do our relationships honor our work, our purpose? Are we able to grow these relationships in a manner all feel honored and supported? These are a few questions that we may wish to address during this cycle. This is Kat Lundgren, and on behalf of Modern Pagan TV, I would like to thank you for joining us for another segment of Flying Through the Skies, A Witch's View of the Cosmos. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
I like the growing thing. Yes. I liked her growing comment. So, and speaking of growing, Jackie, you have something for us.
Yeah, I've just been informed that one of my segments that I taped earlier this year is also up on our website, a half an hour on what are psychic abilities. And I haven't seen it yet, so I get to see it for the first time, just about the time you all get to see it for the first time. But Jacques tells me it's good, so I'll take that on faith. My question on Ask the Living Goddess this week is a question about positive thinking, affirmations, the videotape, The Secret, prosperity consciousness, the power of the mind as it relates to creating reality and doing magic. The question was, what about all this new agey positive thinking stuff? Are they just all fluffy bunnies with their affirmations and such techniques, or is there really anything to it? And to tell you the truth, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of similarities between what all metaphysical people are doing nowadays. And we as metaphysical folks, magical folks, certainly believe in the power of the mind to influence our lives, our health, our reality, to help us create what we want out of life. There's a lot of scientific information, studies to back this all up. So on one hand, it's what metaphysical people have always believed. It's also certainly a lot of psychological principles in all of this. But now more and more we're having the scientific evidence to back this all up. And that's what I'm talking about today. The first books that I read about the power of the mind was about the power of the mind in healing. And starting in the 1970s, many books have been written on those topics. Some of the first ones I looked at were books that doctors, MDs, had put together, compiling scientific studies and the effect of our emotions and what we expected and thought on the outcome in health and healing. There's so much information in that area that I think there's no one out there nowadays who would disagree that the power of the mind, which we could also consider the placebo effect, is very, very strong in the area of health and healing. Nowadays, some of the studies are being done in new areas. So, one aspect of using our thoughts is in the words and language that we use, words of power. Another aspect of using our thoughts to help shape and change reality is in setting our intention and deliberately thinking and repeating, as in doing affirmations, what we will, what we wish to happen in life. The most interesting information just came out in the last few months. There's a fellow named Shawn Achor who has written books about the happiness advantage, the power of positivity in terms of definable outcomes in business. He is a graduate of the Harvard Business School. He has several videos out on the internet that you can check out. Videos like The Happiness Advantage, The Science of Happiness at Work, The Tetris Effect, The Happiness Campaign, The Science of Happiness and Potential, etc., etc. He's got his books and several videos out about all of this on the internet, as well as this campaign he's working on called the Happiness Campaign. So what he did, working in the Harvard Business Review, was he actually did some simple techniques, positive thinking, happiness techniques, with people in business situations, and then they did studies to study the outcome. And in January of this year, he wrote the cover story for the Harvard Business Review magazine on happiness leads to profits. I love this stuff. I love the fact that this stuff that used to be so esoteric and all of us, strange, magical, metaphysical people always did, all this stuff that was considered a woo-woo is now being written up in the Harvard Business Review magazine. His research conclusions were that the single greatest advantage in the modern economy is a happy and engaged workforce. Well, duh! We could have told them that, but it's really good that, we have the scientific evidence that proves it. This isn't just wishful thinking. He goes on to write about his decade of research in the business world. He found that happiness raises nearly every business and educational outcome that he studied. Sales increased by 37%, productivity by 31%, and accuracy on tasks by 19%, as well as a myriad of health and quality of life improvements showing up in the workforces that he studies. He makes a really good choice. He makes a really good point. He says, happiness is a choice. I really like that because, of course, it is. Happiness is a choice. One has to learn to scan the world for the positive rather than dwell on the negative. These are some of the things he had the people in his studies, the workers in his studies do. You'll see they're very simple, but of course the trick is you have to do them. How many of us have read books about magic, about positive thinking, about producing the effects we want in life, but somehow never got around to actually doing the techniques? You know what? It doesn't work if you don't do the techniques. So this is his program of brief exercises. He had the subjects that he was studying in his program do these exercises for 21 days. And this is what he had them do. Very simple, very straightforward, only took maybe half an hour a day to do all this stuff. And why 21 days? Well, the behavioral psychologists who studied how we produce behavioral changes have discovered that it takes a minimum of 21 days of consistent repetition to install a new habit. So that's what he followed when he said, let's have the study participants do this for 21 days and then see what our changes are. The changes I already told you, rises in productivity, rises in sales, rises in happiness, quality of life in the workplace, teams working better, etc., etc. By the way, these changes continued after his study ended. These weren't short-term changes. They continued on afterwards. And these are the amazingly woo-woo things he had people do. 1, write down 3 new things you are grateful for each day. Does that sound like the New Agers? They've been talking about gratitude a lot in several books that have just come out. 2, write for 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes a day. A description of a positive experience you had over the last 24 hours. 3, write one quick email first thing in the morning, thanking or praising someone who's had a good influence on your life. 4, exercise for 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. He's not asking undoable or outrageous things here. 5, meditate for 2 minutes, focusing on your breath, going in and out. Those were the life-changing things he had people do, and he found they brought amazing changes that were statistically tracked and are now available in research journals. And I just thought it was all very, 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 very cool. It certainly gives us credence for the things we've been doing for many years now.
Absolutely. It sounds like the instructions that any good high priestess of the coven would.
Any good spiritual teacher or mentor would have us beginning to do these things, and they did them via Harvest Business School, and they had great results.
Well, now it's real though, because it's been published.
Well, right. Now it's just not us. Now it's not just us weirdos talking.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, speaking of weirdos, we're going to come back and look at some body painting. But first, we're going to go to commercial. And then we're going to come back and see a whole lot of painted skin.
I'm chasing twisters down Avenue.
You're watching Modern Pagan TV. If you'd be interested in advertising on our program or becoming a sponsor, please email info@modernpagan.tv. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Same communication to hear unspoken noise. You can't break my heart.
Hey, Sarah.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute.
Been doing like I taught you. Love the new tattoo, Sarah.
Dude, that's Sarah. The girl in the pink shirt. That's the girl I was telling you about.
Theater 2 on your left. Hey, Sarah. What color underwear today?
Hey, Sarah. So when are you going to post something new?
Anything you post online, anyone can see. So think before you post.
Hi, I'm an atheist.
And I'm a Christian. What are you reading over there?
Oh, Harry Potter. It's good stuff.
Oh, we don't like that. That's not good.
Well, why not?
Well, it's got all that violence and stuff in it. People die. We can't have this. Young kids are reading this.
Well, yeah, but aren't there entire chapters in the Bible there about cities being laid to waste and stuff?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's for a good reason. I mean...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right, sex. There's tons of sex in that, I'm sure. Secular book. It's got to be sex.
Actually, there's no sex whatsoever in the Harry Potter series.
All right, well, magic. Can't deny magic. Tons of magic. Devil and magic go hand in hand. I mean, come on.
What exactly do you call it that God does?
Miracles.
Right, so he says something, and then something mysteriously happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
Magic. That's magic, right?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Where are you? The world is going to end now.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
I have begun a new religion. Here is a pamphlet. Clearly states the path of enlightenment is worth $20 to me.
Why, that's completely within your right. Have a nice day.
It is often said that the tongue is the strongest muscle in the human body.
Flexible, yet firm, it is the rudder.
Just as a small spark can set the entire forest ablaze.
Just as a tiny key can unlock the largest of vaults, so too is the tongue a key.
It is the key to our articulation,
capable of delivering a person's most powerful convictions.
Don't let your voice go unheard.
This message is brought to you by the NAB Education Foundation, the Broadcast Education Association, McCormick Foundation, and this station.
Our forefathers fought to guarantee the right of religious freedom for all Americans.
The separation of church and state, as guaranteed in our Constitution, must be preserved.
Each day, men and women in our military are being denied this right. How can we let this happen in the greatest nation in the world?
The Military Religious Freedom Foundation is leading the fight for justice for our noble and honorable soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, and veterans.
As we continue to fight in the courts, in the media, and in the minds and hearts of our fellow citizens, we need your support. Please donate to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation by going to militaryreligiousfreedom.org. Your generous tax-deductible pledge will help protect religious freedom in America.
I'm chasing twisters down at...
If you like what you see here, please donate to modernpagan.tv. Just go to our website, www.modernpagan.tv, and look for the donate button. We appreciate your contributions to keep modernpagan.tv on the air and on the internet. And now, back to live modernpagan.tv.
That spring always makes me think of, other than gardening and, you know, finally getting outdoors and stuff like that, is partying.
Dancing naked around maypoles. Well, maybe not naked.
Yeah, maybe not in Colorado.
No.
You never know what the temperature is going to be, and that could...
That's true.
So, and we have a festival coming up, and we have somebody here who's going to tell us all about it, and that is, of course, our wonderful Beltania Festival, and we have with us Joy Burton. So, Joy, what is Beltania? I mean, Beltane, yes, it's, you know, a holiday, holy day. So, but what is Beltania?
Beltania is a festival that's put on by a group that I'm with called Living Earth. And it's a 4-day camping festival.
Woo!
It's awesome. It's located pretty close to Florence, Colorado, about 2.5 hours southwest of Denver. So it's a pretty doable drive.
South of Colorado Springs.
Right? Yeah, southwest of Colorado Springs. And it's fantastic. This is our 5th year going into doing this festival. And it's our biggest fundraiser of the year for Living Earth. And so it's not only just an amazing event filled with rituals and workshops and music. It's a huge music fest. It also is what helps us fund the Living Earth Community Center and all the open rituals we do throughout the entire year, and a whole bunch of different stuff. So,
and you have some really big headliners coming.
We do. Our music fest is really the highlight of the festival, and we've got Pandemonium coming with
You
Sharon
almost
Knight.
said Panda Bear, didn't you?
Pandemonium. I'm a little tongue-tied with that. Pandemonium. We have S.J. Tucker.
Yes,
Woo!
yes.
And let's see, who else do we have? We have Tuatha, of course.
Wonderful local Fort Collins band.
They're amazing. And we have Pandora Celtica.
Oh, a cappella, Renaissance style music. They're great. Yeah.
Right.
Piratey stuff too sometimes.
Piratey stuff. Yep.
Right. And of course, Orpheus Pagan Chamber Choir.
Oh, which is somewhere between 30 and 50 voices now. It just keeps getting more amazing all the time.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Yule concert was just...
Oh, it was wonderful.
Rocked
wasn't
the
it?
house. It was just
So,
wonderful.
right. Concerts are going to be on Friday and Saturday, starting around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, going till about 10 or 11 at night. Just taking a little break for ritual.
And what are we doing on Saturday morning?
Saturday morning is something that I have been wanting to do for the last 5 years. We are going to attempt for the Guinness World Record for largest maypole dance on Earth.
Right.
So, and you would know a lot
Yes,
about
I
that too. So, Laura, why don't you share the details of the maypole dance? Because you happen to be our amazing volunteer helping with that.
Absolutely, yes. The previous record was 160 some, 163.
That's all?
That's all.
Wow. Well, we
can do it.
We already beat them,
We're
except it wasn't official 4 years ago.
We were very close.
Yeah.
So we're shooting for 180.
180.
We want 180, and it's going to be videotaped, and we have adjudicators, we have judges that have to come and sign. So we need everybody to sign up, and then we need everybody to show up, and we're going to simplify everything with just red and white ribbons. So, white is going to go one way, red's going to go the other, and we'll have some practicing, and we have a whole ceremony of the wreathing of the maypole, and
Our Green Man and May Queen,
Yeah!
which will preside over the event. There
Yeah!
are basically our royalty and the god and goddess incarnate for the entire festival, with lots of pomp and circumstance and a whole coronation ceremony.
And the May Queen actually gets carried out on the maypole before the maypole is erected, right?
She sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
there's a lot of ritual around the maypole dance and maypole ritual on Saturday morning every year.
It's very exciting. So we have everyone from the little kids, we have little ribbon girls, to the 50 guys carrying that big giant pole on in a big parade. So it's a lot of drama, it's a lot of fun, and I think it's pretty exciting. So I'm really looking forward to breaking the Guinness record.
And we do need, if you are under 18, we do have to have guardians' consent on record. And all those forms are at the information booth and ready to go. So I think that would be awesome if an honest-to-goodness pagan group held an honest-to-goodness Guinness World Record.
Right.
I think that will be
Yeah.
Cool.
And our website, beltania.org, has a special mailing list just for people who are interested in that maypole dance.
Yep.
So under, I think, schedule and events, there's a link for maypole dance, and that's the place to look for those who want to sign up for that.
I think it's very cool today that you're already getting in the May.
No, look at this. Look at this.
State of mind.
I
State
am.
Of grace.
So, yep.
Carmen, our crafty kitchen witch here, is painting away all sorts of fun, springy-looking things.
Yeah, she can be the May Queen.
This was totally spontaneous, by the way, for our audience out there around the world on the internet.
We said we need to paint somebody.
We need to
Joyce
paint
said,
somebody. And
Yes,
Joyce said,
I haven't painted a body in a while.
I've got skin.
And after all, I am here to talk about Beltania.
That's
so
right.
what better
And
thing to do
there's
than...
going to be painting at Beltania.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
There better be. So
Well, I know certainly there's the wonderful showers. For that, it's a camp out festival. I love camp out festivals where they figure out how to do showers out in the middle of the camping area like that. It's like the nicest thing after 3 days in the sun and the rain and the elements is a hot job.
Absolutely. So we strive to make
we are
it
such spoiled
as
pagans.
awesome
Oh,
as
we are
possible.
spoiled. It's true.
But, it's tough camping in May, the early May. I say we're not just pagans, we are Colorado pagans.
That's right.
So we need to be prepared for snow or
Sleet,
rain,
dark
wind,
night. Yeah.
and cold,
true. It's true.
heat. It could be
So-
80, it could be 35.
All in the same day.
All in the same day.
All in the same day. And so you can get yourself painted up if you wish, and you can also get it washed off if you're going into town.
Right.
Although, they've been great in town, the town of Florence.
They love
we
us.
come in all kinds of costumes, and they don't bat an eye, do they?
Nope. No.
Yeah.
I really
Those
feel
crazy
good about doing good in the community there. We really do try to use local vendors. And I know we bring a lot of money into the city. So it's been a struggling economy there. And I think that we're kind of doing our part to be a good citizen, a temporary citizen of the city. So, I think people will enjoy the
So give us the
antique
dates again, so everybody knows.
May 10th through 13th.
And when is your registration cutoff?
We don't have registration cutoff.
Really?
However, the ticket prices will go up at the end of this month. So in April, we have a couple special deals going on. We have it's $90 per person right now.
Is that for all 3 days?
For 4 days.
4 days?
Yes.
Holy mother.
Teams
That is a
are a
good
little bit
deal.
less. Teams are about 70. We are now, for the first time in a long time, offering a Saturday only pass. It is 45 now, and I think it's 50
Thank Maple.
at the door.
Thank Maple.
So if people just want to come for that maypole dance, they can just come then and see all the concerts.
I was going to say,
all
that
the
includes the
workshops.
concerts.
It sure does. So until I think 11 o'clock at night.
And
So
we
8
have
a.m. to 11.
workshops of the yin yang.
You've been getting, what, between 400 and 750 people, depending upon the year?
Yep. And I
Coming to
think
Beltania?
it's going to be a big year for us this year.
Good. Wow.
Yeah.
Anything
So
else you want to
exciting.
say about it?
I just would say get your tickets now at beltania.org. We will offer tickets at the door, but prices will be higher.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, and that's only fair.
Carmen,
Carmen,
what would you like to say? You're quietly and busily working away on Joey here.
Just give me a body and I'll paint.
Well, so tell us about.
So, well, basically, one of my other part-time jobs is face painting. But there's a group of us in the kind of artist community that basically we do body painting and stuff. So twice a month there's what's called the Denver Body Painting Jam, something like that.
I didn't know that.
I was
Yes,
going to say,
yes.
who knew?
In fact, one of the guys that I work with, David Caballero, is the guy in charge of the whole thing. And it's totally awesome, and you have to RSVP because we have such a large community of body painters out there that, let me tell you.
Out!
Honest to goodness. My husband's the one that got me into it. So I started going with him and then met David. Next thing you know, I'm working at the store that he's working at. But it is so much fun. And, you know, these are very professional people when it comes to painting a body. Because basically, it's not a body to them. It is a three-dimensional canvas, okay? So you sit down and you just start painting, and it is so addictive. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, I'm running out. I'm going to have to start on the other side. But it is so much fun, and these are the paints that I'm using are professional quality paints because, you know, like I said, I do this. It's one of my, you know, businesses as well. Basically, I'll go and do birthday parties.
And the witch's
not the bodies,
ball.
just the faces.
You come and paint faces of the witch's ball, yay!
Yes, I did the witch's ball this year. That was so much fun. You know, and I love it. I mean, one of the things I love to do is bring the smile to kids' faces. Okay, so we have so much fun with that. But you know, you just pick an idea. I've got a whole book of things that I actually use for my stuff. You know, but you can basically you can just kind of you can work out of your head. You can work with pictures and stuff, but what we're doing right now is we're giving her the look that she's going to be ready for, of course, by the time Beltania comes along, and she won't have it on there anymore. But
I'm already overflowing with Beltane. This is just the icing on the cake for me.
There you go. So she's got some designs here for, like, the May Queen, so she can be ready to
rock and roll.
Yeah. And be Beltaned out. So we got some flowers. We got a beautiful big butterfly, and
this is fantastic.
And we might do glitter.
I'm all for it.
Yes.
This is great. This is very transforming, and it's very body positive. You know, we live in a culture that that is very hard. It's very hard to be a woman in this culture. And just having this happen is something that's very life affirming and very it's just wonderful. It feels great.
This design that's up on that's not me. I didn't do that. I wish I was that good, but I know the gal who did that. Her name is Mythica. That is Mythica, and I was there the day that she was working on that. It was the most awesome thing to see. We had people on ladders taking pictures down on it. It is just awesome.
Mythica is doing amazing work with body painting.
She's a body painting goddess. And I actually was trying to get her to come tonight, but she had some other things going
maybe
on.
some
But
other
we will
night.
get her in the future to come in.
She's a member of our community for many years.
She is. She's absolutely wonderful. In fact, you could probably, I don't know if they actually have a website. If you went to the Denver Body Painting Jam, there might be a website. I'm not positive, but David Caballero is in charge of it, and it is just, it's a great place to
people-
package.
So volunteers come to get painted, and painters
basically-
come to paint.
Right, and we have photographers, which like we said, it's by invitation only for photographers and body painters, and invitation only for them, and models. You know, we do invite the models usually a body painter will bring a model, or they'll invite a model to come along. And I usually just take whoever's out there, because a lot of the models have been there many times, and what they'll do is they will continue to come back even if an artist hasn't asked them, because like you said, Joy, it's one of those things, it kind of makes you feel, you are the piece of art. You're a piece of art.
Your own inner goddess can
Yes,
come on
there
out.
you go. There you go. We're making you so much more beautiful than you already are. There's Mythica. No, that's not Mythica, because he's got a beard. So Mythica doesn't have a beard.
She is bald, but she doesn't have a beard.
She does wonderful work. And I've been doing the body painting and face painting for just under a year. And it's very addictive for me to do, because I just love it. When I do at a birthday party, it's like, okay, bring me another kid. Okay, bring me, and I don't even have to ask for kids. They line up. I've got a line of kids, and it's just so fun. You get your paints. You got to have your water layup and everything. So I've got several different water things, especially if I'm not going to be able to get to the water to change it. Lucky for you, I actually filled my gallon with hot water.
It was a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be.
Yes. Most people will say that it kind of tickles. It's very fun. We have a variety of different colors. You can get some wonderful little. I'm going to try to cover that because it's a mirror. So you can get some wonderful little setups with a whole kit. This one has 8 colors in it. There's I think 4 or 5, no, maybe 6 different ones that have the different colors. Let me see if you can see that. There you go. So that one's got 8 colors in it. I've got 2 of these, and I plan on getting every one of them so I can get all the colors. Or you can go with the great big, there we go, the great big ones like this, which basically each individual one has a different price, and it doesn't go by the size, it goes by the color, because it's a different kind of pigment for each one that they use. The body paints are wonderful to use. My husband actually used to use acrylic craft paints, okay? And when he did that, they tend to peel off.
Yeah.
So if you're doing this beautiful design, you get all done, and the person gets up and walks away, and then maybe 20 minutes later comes back to you, and it's starting to peel. So body paints last longer. They're wonderful to work with.
I was going to say, I was very anxious when you first started, because the first thing that you did was you took a whole bunch and you put it right over my eye, and I was thinking, I am going to have the hardest time opening my eye. I was terrified because I'm going to be on TV squinting.
Right.
But as soon as it dried, I opened up my eyes, and I have had no discomfort at all. It's been very easy to
There's
wear.
actually a latex body paint, which I don't
must
use.
be very careful of.
Yes, and it was funny. At one of the body painting jams, David was painting somebody with the black latex body paint. And apparently it started itching the guy. I think he had sensitive skin, because later on he's peeling it off of his body. And it was coming off in sheets, and the next thing you know, there's like 2 other people coming along and just peeling it off his body. It was so funny. But then we like to
Probably
blur.
not to the guy.
No, not to
with
him.
The,
no,
itch,
no,
yeah.
because there were parts that he, didn't want peeling
Peeled
off.
off.
But it's fun, and once you get started in this kind of stuff, it's very addictive. Whether you're a model or an artist, it is just the most fun thing to do. How do you feel about getting body painted here?
I feel great. I feel like a weirdo. Thanks for that comment earlier there.
I wasn't.
I resemble that remark. I just have to rib you about it.
That's all right.
So we've got this wonderful butterfly on her chest here.
I was actually talking about Carmen.
Well, you know where the word weird comes from, don't you? W-Y-R-D. There's a magical meaning to that word.
Uh-oh.
So we could reclaim it.
I reclaim it right now.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, tell us more.
Okay, we got any philologists? Philologists are the ones who know the roots of words.
Maybe somebody
right?
in the chat room knows that.
It's entomologists. Entomologists?
No, entomologists are bug people.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, etymology.
Oh, Alan.
Okay.
Oh, he's
All right.
not singling them. Okay.
Look at that.
All right.
That's fantastic.
Well, so Carmen, you're going to keep painting.
Sure.
We're going to go to
Third eye.
commercial.
That's great.
We have 2 wonderful people coming up. We actually still have 3 people coming up.
All
and
right.
so we're going to go to commercial. You're going to keep painting.
Indeed.
And as soon as we come back, we're going to talk to two people from the
Covenant
of the Witches.
Of the Witches.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
I'm chasing twisters down avenue.
You're watching Modern Pagan TV. If you'd be interested in advertising on our program or becoming a sponsor, please email info@modernpagan.tv. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Same communication to your unspoken voice. You can't break my heart.
I think they're destroying our town, they're burning our crops, and we're not gonna take it anymore!
Wicked witches. People have believed in witchcraft for centuries, and in the Stuart era, we just loved accusing innocent people of being witches. Have you had an accident that wasn't your fault? Trip or fall at work? Suffered a personal injury or sickness? Then you could have been cursed by a witch. So get in touch with us at Witchfinders Direct. We'll find some innocent woman, say she's a witch, and have her burned to death. Farmer Pocket of Crawley lost all his cabbages when they were eaten by slugs. He lost literally several shillings. So he called in Witchfinders. And we decided the slugs had been sent by the strange old woman who lived in the village. Yes, her. It wasn't me. Yes, it was. She's old and warty and looks a bit evil, don't you think? So we had her dragged away and given a fair trial. Do you have a cat? Yeah. Then thou art a witch. She was put to death, and her cat sent to prison. So if you have anything go wrong in your life, call Witchfinders Direct. We'll find some innocent old woman and blame her for it. Witchfinders, because old ladies deserve it.
In the 1600s, confessing to being a witch could result in burning. Not confessing to being a witch could result in being tortured until you said you were a witch, then in burning. Not all witches were burned. Other punishments included forced fasting, exile, hanging, beheading, stoning, and gouging.
respecting an establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof,
or abridging the freedom of speech,
or of the press,
or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble,
and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
We can believe. We can believe. We can believe.
We can believe.
We can believe.
We can believe.
I have the right to believe.
I have the right to believe. I have the right to believe.
I have the right to believe. I have the right to believe.
I have the right to believe.
I have the right to believe.
I'm chasing twisters down an avenue.
If you like what you see here, please donate to modernpagan.tv. Just go to our website, www.modernpagan.tv, and look for the donate button. We appreciate your contributions to keep modernpagan.tv on the air and on the internet. And now, back to live modernpagan.tv.
The chat room's busy talking about latex, I guess. So that's funny. All right.
It's kind of funny.
It is.
Well, we
right.
have some wonderful guests here tonight, a husband and wife team of priest and priestess. You know, we don't see enough of that. I mean,
true.
A lot of people would love to have a partner to work with magically in running a group,
Yeah.
but it's hard to find that person to do that with. So why don't we start by asking each of you something about your backgrounds? How did you end up?
And their names.
And that always helps as well. Why don't we start with Jade and tell us a little bit about how you got into paganism and how you ended up doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, you know, I was in college at the time studying religions and was very determined to be Buddhist and had a wonderful roommate actually that introduced me to a coven that was based out of Longmont, and she was open to training.
Really?
I was fortunate enough to be able to be invited to their Yule. The coven's name was Crescent Oak. They no longer participate. The high priestess has left the public world of training in any case. And so I fell in love. Meg and I hit it off really, really well, and that entered me into this amazing world. And it, of course, like so many of us say, it's like a coming home.
It's for so many people.
Right.
Yeah. So when was that? How long ago was that?
Gosh, I had to have been around about 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Mhm.
2 centuries.
And wasn't
Feels
it,
like it, yeah.
wasn't it great that there was enough of a community established
Right.
that you could find something
Right.
in Longmont, which is not that big a town.
Right. Right. And you know,
Nor that liberal.
Nor
right,
that liberal.
Exactly. And at the time I lived in Denver, which is even more so. I was going to school and living down on Capitol Hill, going to school at Metro. So this was, not only was this, traveling to Longmont, but this was also just, this was the very, very early days of the internet. So there wasn't, it wasn't that we could go on and Google local teaching groups. That wasn't available. And even walking into a metaphysical store, for somebody like me, I'm very introverted. I don't go out and talk publicly very often. I don't network easily with people. So it was really something to find and be blessed enough to find this intimate group where right off the bat, I never went through some of that growing pains training that so many of us do with being a solitary practitioner. Right off the bat, my craft training, if you will, was in a coven family. So it really was this very supportive environment and network. And I feel very blessed to have always had that. And then now have created that because that's my background. That's where I come from.
Well, so when did you two meet? And when did you two end up getting together?
It's been I think around 10 years that we've been together and teaching actively for about 8. I'm really lousy on the actual dates, but it's around 8 years that we've been teaching together.
Oh, I think it's longer, actually, babe. We first advertised Coven on Witchvox in 2002.
Okay.
So
10 years.
10 years of teaching.
Right.
Yep,
Right.
exactly. And so had to have been 12 years now that we've known each other.
So how about you, Chantal? I know you have quite a long and varied background. You were on our show last month talking about other subjects, and you started your exploration very young because you got out on your own very young and became an adult in many ways very young. Why don't you tell us a bit about that, about how you ended up in the place with you're at now with Covenant of the Witches.
And how you really met, because we still don't know that.
Okay, that's a good story.
Okay,
we'll
good.
Get there.
All right.
So yeah, I dated a man who was a high priest in an Alexandrian coven when I was very young, And
He was still a teenager.
I was still a teenager. I was 16 years old. Yeah. So don't try this at home, anyone. Right. And the craft felt really strong for me, but was a little bit kind of spooky still. I came from a Southern Baptist Pentecostal background.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes, very strong actually. My
Wow.
grandmother built the sanctuary and played piano for Mission Baptist Church in San Francisco, which is still in operation and standing today. So, we didn't go a Sunday without going to church with grandma. And, that was part of the family. So, a very deeply steeped and enmeshed religious family, but very fundamental Christian. And so I had a lot of programming to kind of face. Well, wound up going all the way through to my second degree then with John, my high priest, who I was also dating, and then left the craft for many years and studied comparative religion, but always kind of touched base back again and again with the craft. And then, I don't know, I think it was 2000 when I went to my first Dragon Fest. And that was the coming home. That
Which,
was the
for
aha
people who
moment.
are not in Colorado, is another huge ritual festival that is in August.
That's right. Yes.
And
Another large camp out festival with hundreds of people.
Yes, that's right. And I went to the multiple drawing down, which is itself like one of the two core mysteries in witchcraft, right? The first one being sex as a sacred source of energy raising and directing and manifesting in the world, and the other being, transpossession, bringing gods and goddesses directly into our bodies to oracularly speak here on this planet. And
some groups call it being the garment, coming out of the Egyptian tradition, being the garment of the gods.
Yes. And went to that, and that was my coming home, Jackie.
In 2000.
Yes, exactly. That was that aha moment where I realized that what I'd been really resisting for 20 some odd years was the craft. And what I really needed to surrender to was the craft. And so I did. And that led me to the College of Wicca and Old Lore, run by Morning Glory Dragonfly, another elder in our community, which if you have not had on your show, I would highly recommend getting her in one of these chairs.
Yes, we should get Morning Glory.
Well, somebody call her up and say, call up
will.
Laura and
We
get her
will.
scheduled.
Absolutely. We'll put some pressure on that.
Yeah.
For those of you who aren't local, the college is no longer around, unfortunately, but was around for many years. Morning Glory ran a store in Capitol Hill, a metaphysical store called Herbs and Arts, and she started the College of Wicca and Old Lore, ran it for many years, then turned it over to other people,
Yes.
to Bear Woman and others, and it went through many manifestations. It's not around any longer, but trained many people along the way, as we can see.
Yeah, had the laughable mission of teaching teachers in the craft.
Yeah.
And, through when we went to Bear Woman's memorial, there were 6 living teaching covens present at that memorial service, all because of the work of the College of Wicca and Old Lore. Yes. So had hived off all of those different teaching covens.
Well, what a
It was really
tribute.
brilliant.
Right.
We haven't heard from any of them either.
Okay, well, we'll talk to them too. So someone here was one of their teachers.
Right. I was teaching for the college. I went through their year-in-a-day program as a student, and then as a student teacher, and then followed up as a teacher. And Shantat was, at the time, a student that I met him.
And that's how you two met.
Yep.
Yes.
So you have this little student-teacher thing going on here, don't you? We have a little history here.
There's a pattern.
There is definitely a pattern I've noticed.
Yeah.
Oh, it all worked out.
It did.
Yeah, at least it's not an age-inappropriate relationship.
Right, like the first one.
Right, yeah. See,
Yeah.
I've moved ahead.
Yeah.
But, so we met, and when, at some point, the college vacated Herbs and Arts, and they wanted to keep still teaching. People were asking about classes. So John and Kaywin, the owner of Herbs and Arts.
When Morning Glory left Herbs and Arts, because she needed to get off into the country for a while and do some more contemplative things after many years of being in the middle of a lot of energy, she needed to get off by herself for a while. John and Kaywin took over the store and still own it and run it.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they approached Maeve, one of their employees who still
Mhm.
works there, and Jade, and said, "Hey, can you guys teach?" And they roped me in and said, "Come and teach with us." And so that triumvirate in fire, Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries,
Wow. Yeah.
taught for quite a few
Mm,
years
powerful.
out of the back of Herbs and Arts, and that built a base of student body that were beginning to ask for advanced training, and that's really where Coven was born, was in us developing from the inside, from our own traditions, our own experience, and from teaching for years, the material that it took to train a witch, and offered that as advanced studies for people, and that formed the backbone of Covenant of the Witches, and we still teach that curriculum today, even though we are now informed by another tradition that we've brought into our midst.
Yes, a fairy tradition.
That's right.
So when did you decide you wanted to start working with fairy?
You want to tell this story?
Sure. Somewhere really, really early on, this is many years ago, T. Thorne Hoyle and Raven Stanfield were in town teaching an Iron Pentacle class. This was maybe, it could have been 8 years ago. This was a long time ago. And that was really my first introduction to fairy. And so it planted this seed. And as we began to explore and to develop ourselves, because of my background working with Meg and Crescent Oak, I hold this strong belief that teachers need to have some place to touch back to have some source of inspiration, or have a teacher themselves.
Jade, let me just interrupt for 2 seconds. For people who don't understand fairy, why don't you talk a little
Yes.
bit? I mean, are we talking little cartoon cutouts with wings and that flit through the night?
No, and we're not talking the other fairy tradition either. There's at least 2 traditions that call themselves fairy.
Yeah.
So your tradition goes back to the work of the Andersons.
Right, Victor and Cora Anderson.
Victor
right.
and Cora Anderson, who go back to the 1960s and 70s.
Earlier, and even earlier.
Even
Mhm.
earlier?
Right.
Go ahead. Tell us about the Andersons and about fairy tradition.
The Anderson fairy tradition, of course, fairy is a living line, is a living tradition. There are many spokes, if you will, many practitioners of fairy. Now, one of the things I need to be clear about is that we're not initiates of the fairy tradition. So Shentat and I are both students of fairy. And we're currently training under Karina Blackheart. And other members of our coven are also students of fairy. So that's an important distinction to make right off the bat.
That we are practitioners.
Right.
We are not initiates.
We are not initiates.
And when we teach the core of COTW work, not fairy tradition.
So now going back to fairy tradition, it is, let's see, how do you sum that up in a quick sentence? This is an American witchcraft tradition that is born and infused from Victor's work as a Huna, and also his work with voodoo.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he'd worked with voodoo and Huna.
Yep, he was a kahuna, actually,
Ah.
Victor.
Yeah.
And they ended up in California.
Well, the originally were from Oregon, and then they lived in California until
Those
of
two
course-
make my head hurt when I think of them at the same time.
Why is that?
Voodoo and
Huna
Huna,
and
Huna,
voodoo.
voodoo.
Oh, okay.
And that's really, a very quick nutshell, easy definition that is not does not do it fair justice.
It seems like parts of California were really a cauldron, a breeding ground for a lot of early pagan movements because Church of All Worlds came
Yeah.
out of that time and that place as
Right.
well. And one of the students of the Andersons was Gwydion Pendragon, the first bard, pagan
Right.
bard we
Yeah.
had.
Right.
And unfortunately, the poor man died in a car accident.
Young.
Suspicious
Far
accident,
too young.
I might mention.
Far too young. But for those of you who are old timers in paganism and the craft, this is some of our history, some of our pagan history in North America.
And you mentioned the other fairy tradition. Why don't you just mention that really quickly too, so that people understand?
Sure. In some gay Wiccan traditions, there's a group who call themselves fairy, but the spelling's different.
Right.
They're the Fairy fairy, and the fairy traditions coming out of the Andersons is Feri, right?
Yes.
Okay. So about 8 years ago, you got interested in fairy tradition,
Right.
and had you been into it earlier, or is that when you became interested?
I was aware of some of the work, also through T. Thorne Coyle. And when she came out, though, for Iron, and just to put a little context around this, several traditions growing out of fairy as kind of a mother tradition talk about Iron Pentacle, and it's we think of it as our birthright. 5 points to the pentacle: sex, pride, self, power, and passion. And the work of Iron is embodying those as values and as kind of guideposts to our lives. And when Thorne came out, however, and taught it, we saw something really amazing. At that point in our life, we had been through 1,000 Wicca 101 books. We had our own personal training in Coven Atmosphere. We had done our own individual and personal work. And we were at a really critical moment where we needed something that pushed us past mere competence in the craft into mastery in the craft. And when she came, we saw an incredible light in Thorne Coyle, and it was this informing, this aura of power and beauty and strength and integrity that came out of her work in fairy. And so we followed her, and eventually did a 2.25 year apprenticeship program of hers in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah, where we had to fly back and forth
Oh,
every
good
quarter
heavens.
and get. Was it every quarter?
It was. It was
Yes,
every 3 months.
every
we flew
3
up
months.
to the
Yeah,
Chicago
we flew
area.
out. And then had, of course, homework every month to do. And that really brought me home. And so I, of course, then continued to study under Thorne and work for Thorne for several years.
Even when she branched out
That's
and
right.
developed Morningstar.
Yeah,
which is
and
its
developed her
tradition
own
now, too.
tradition. And Jade really felt, more at home with fairy, and of course we had made this great contact with Karina Blackheart already at the very first fairy witch camp where we went to kind of test the waters with Thorne to see if she was our teacher. And
where was that?
that was at Diana's Grove. Yeah.
In Missouri. So
Missouri.
southern Missouri, south of St. Louis.
So you've traveled all over the Americas, following and studying this tradition.
Right.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and when we were at Fairy Camp, where we met Karina's
Fell in
based out
love.
of Western Massachusetts. So we travel out to the Western Mass area. We drag Karina to the Colorado Mountains, and
Every year.
as often as we possibly can. So, but I have a fondness for journeying, for travel, and now of course the Blackheart family, it spans the planet, which is really neat to have this living tradition and a family that's very close.
Yes.
We're very fortunate in the Denver area. There's actually a good number of us, Blackhearters as we like to call ourselves, but that are here locally as well as nationally and as well as in Europe. So it's kind of neat.
Which is nice. It keeps our coven is really very much old school flavored, in that
Yes, it is.
we think of when I introduce myself to a potential new student, I say, coven is family, and we take as long as it takes. If it takes 5 months, if it takes 10 years, however long it takes to become a witch in our tradition, because this is a commitment for the rest of our lives. This is a marriage to the craft.
Something else you were telling me last night when we were talking about the program today was that you do something that's similar to the old inner circle, outer circle structure that a lot of Wiccan groups used to do, but that you find less nowadays. Basically, inner circle work would be for initiates or committed members of the group, people who've taken a vow, an oath to the group only, and then the outer work, the outer circle, would be more open events that you could invite family or friends or possible students to.
Right.
You're kind of doing that at the moment as well, aren't
Right.
you?
Yes?
Something like
Do you
that.
want to address?
Well, that was, when I was doing my work and studying with Crescent Oak, that was how I was raised, if you will, within the craft. So when we, when it was time to no longer teach large classes outside of in the backspace of a metaphysical store, and it was time to bring it into our lives and into our homes, because we teach out of our homes.
Yeah.
And so it
Our
becomes...
temples, our extra bedroom.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really it becomes this family, and as we develop and have membership get tight, I know for myself, I'm not satisfied simply having the walk into the room and let's have ritual. Sometimes I want to have something that's more private, more intimate, more
with more
sacred.
Experienced practitioners
Right.
who have been working together for
Deeper level, perhaps.
long
and a
periods
deeper level of
time,
trust
yeah.
and the connectivity. So that's also important.
That perfect love, perfect trust
Right.
that we
Right.
talk
Yeah.
about.
Much
Both
greater
of those
risk.
are very
Yeah.
important.
This is more the traditional style that I was trained in as
Right,
well.
right.
And in the 1980s and 1990s, when I ran Dragon Fane with my ex-husband, ex-high priest George, that's kind of how we did it as well.
Yeah.
But there's less and less of this more traditional model available all the time, I think, which is a shame. Because there's things... Well, why did you answer? I'll ask you a question about that. I think there's things you get from that level of commitment and intimacy that you don't get otherwise. So could you address that?
Certainly. Shintat mentioned a tradition that's out that occurs really for the general public at Dragonfest with the multiple drawing down in a more advanced level of work or commitment in private ceremony or in like initiate level up type work. We can do that kind of work with doing trance work, doing possession work. We've done astral work, very specific things that take a certain level of trust and a lot of vulnerability. You can't enter into those deep trance states for any period of time, I believe, without having a certain level of intimacy and trust with another person. And it certainly isn't a kind of ritual that's appropriate for 30 people, some of which maybe have never stepped into circle before. So, that's something that is also very needed.
Yeah, that's my experience. We used to do drawing downs regularly when I was High Priestess of Dragon Fane, and I had a few experiences doing them outside of circle, but for the most part, in larger settings, it didn't work as well. And I think there had been, as you say, a trust and also a psychic group mind developed among people who had worked together and practiced together psychically and spiritually for a long time that really helped that work, that kind of intense ritual work.
Yes.
And it's much harder to do when there are people there who don't know the basic energetic and psychic support they should be giving to help that kind of ritual happen.
Yes, exactly.
Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're working in a group where all the practitioners, whether it's 4, whether it's 12, are able to hold that space for group mind and keep that presence and keep awareness of circle and keep awareness of everybody else's energetics, the power that can be really tapped and attained just is a different level.
Well, yes, for magical workings.
Absolutely.
The sheer amount of power that can be raised. But I'm not putting down solitaries or people who do it in other ways. There can be valuable and interesting experiences there as well. I'm just saying there's some differences that I think you don't manage to reach unless you've worked together with a particular group of people for a long time.
Right.
Well, I'm old school enough that when I hear people say, "Oh, yes, I'm a witch," I say, "Oh, well, where'd you train?" "Oh, I don't need that." I always go, "Oh, okay, well, do you know this and this and this and this?" And they look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language, which I am, because they've never heard that before.
Right.
And bringing somebody like that into a circle, it's like, woohoo, okay.
Right. I think there's something to be said when, in the work that I do, I don't do only within, and I know Shintet's the same way, and our other members of our coven are the same way. We do work solo and individual as well, because I think those are really, like you were bringing up, Jackie, those are talents that I think as a witch, you need to be able to develop those tools for yourself, with yourself, and to know how to raise that degree of power accountable to yourself.
That's true as well. Some people are not joiners. It's just not their personality.
Right.
And they will always be solitaries. And that doesn't mean that they can't do a lot of very focused practice on their own.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the world is enlightened one individual at a time, and whether we're doing that as a group and holding each other accountable to our enlightenment, and by enlightenment I certainly don't mean having some grand realization on the top of the mountain, but simply illuminating this object in the world, so that I understand all of my parts and I have agreement between them, so that when I move, when I make a decision, I am fully present and fully accountable. To kind of stitch this in with a couple of threads, we're really lucky in that our teacher shares the same kind of philosophy and structure to her group, with an inner circle, outer circle, that we've naturally developed with our own, with an inner circle and an outer circle, but very powerful and strong individual practices.
Right.
And I think that's where the real transformation happens in witchcraft,
Right.
is in that individual, strong, disciplined practice. Who can understand love who has never been disciplined about anything? Right?
So students can come to you, right?
Right. We
So
are
people who
enabling
say, "Oh, there are no teachers. No one's teaching anymore. Couldn't find a teacher." Huh?
There's lots of people teaching.
Well, I'm just saying that you get that from people all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
They say, "And who's your teacher?" "Oh, well, I couldn't find one." It's like, "Oh, you didn't look very hard." So how would they find you?
This is a great plug for the website.
Really? You think?
It is.
Okay.
It's fabulous. So you can find our coven at cotw.us.
Okay.
Now, there's
So
not a
there we are.
.com or a
Yeah.
.anything else.
Okay.
It's just cotw.us. That stands for Covenant of the Witches.us, as in United States. Type that into your browser and you will see our website.
Right there?
Yep, absolutely. Our website has contact information for the coven. It has extensive about blurbs for what we teach. We really kind of give away the farm on the website. So almost all of our practice and much of our sort of underlying theory are alluded to on the website. And any new and upcoming things that we are involved in, we link to other sister sites for projects that we have our hands in. There are two primary things that we are in, well, three primary things that we're involved in. Jade, of course, is the registrar for Beltania, so yay, woo, go
Wow,
Beltania!
how does that all work out?
You think our community's just a little incestuous?
No, it's not. No, it's not. Actually, it's just that there are three real witches in the world, and all the rest we do with mirrors. So we
Don't
now
pay
know
attention to that person behind the smoke.
That's
yeah.
right. So now we know who all the witches are, making all the things happen. Right. So there is Beltania, and Jade, of course, is the wonderful registrar for that. One of our coveners, Genoa, is Info Booth. So you would
Cool.
contact her if
Okay,
you wanted to
sure.
be involved. And
wanted to sign up for the Maypole Dance.
that's right, sign up for the Maypole Dance. With her marvelous husband, Toma, who is also a student of ours. And Gosh, what else have we got going?
You have other, but your coven has
Yes.
open stuff people can find out about.
Right.
Also,
We do,
right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
We have sponsored before in the past. We've brought Sharon Knight out here for concerts. We have brought out Karina Blackheart for classes. We've brought out T-Thorn Coyle for classes. We've made public offerings for some of our own expertise. I teach a course called Psychic Anatomy, which is very similar to what you may know as etheric anatomy, only I cover like all of the layers of it.
You guys have done public rituals.
We
for other
have.
groups,
We do enormous, including for Witches' Ball.
Witches' Ball
We did a
for
Witches' Ball one
Beltania.
year. We've done many Friday night full moon rituals for Beltania, as well as been involved in. I've done men's mysteries for both Dragonfest and for Beltania several years, and all of those, of course, are open.
And those
to
are all
the
listed
general.
on the website.
Yes,
People
any
can find
events
it.
that we have or classes that we offer by any of
that
our
are
coveners.
that are larger scale. Now, open ritual that are maybe not larger scale, but it would be something that that would be acceptable or completely at the level where somebody who is interested in maybe looking at joining or becoming a student of COTW, they would have to contact us first
Okay.
because we don't keep our calendar public. You know,
Okay.
that's that part of. You need to, for us, we need to reach out a little bit. You
Okay.
need to come out and actually shake a hand and meet eye to eye before we
Good.
go into.
All right. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for it. We want to have you back again. I want to talk some more about all the wonderful things you do and know and get some of those people to call me so we can get them on the
Yeah,
show.
absolutely.
Sure.
We're going to go to commercial and then we're going to drum.
All right.
So
sounds
we're going to
fabulous.
go to commercial and then we're going to drum.
I'm chasing twisters down avenue.
You're watching Modern Pagan TV. If you'd be interested in advertising on our program or becoming a sponsor, please email info@modernpagan.tv. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Same communication to hear unspoken love. You can't break
Hey, Sarah.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute.
Been doing like I taught you. Love the new tattoo, Sarah.
Dude, that's Sarah. The girl in the pink shirt. That's the girl I was telling you about.
Theater 2 on your left. Hey, Sarah. What color underwear today?
Hey, Sarah. So when are you going to post something new?
Anything you post online, anyone can see. So think before you post.
Hi, I'm an atheist.
And I'm a Christian. What are you reading over there?
Oh, Harry Potter. It's good stuff.
Oh, we don't like that. That's not good.
Well, why not?
Well, it's got all that violence and stuff in it. People die. We can't have this. Young kids are reading this.
Well, yeah, but aren't there entire chapters in the Bible there about cities being laid to waste and stuff?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's for a good reason. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
all right, sex. There's tons of sex in that, I'm sure. Secular book. It's got to be sex.
Actually, there's no sex whatsoever in the Harry Potter series.
All right, well, magic. Can't deny magic. Tons of magic. Devil and magic go hand in hand. I mean, come on.
What exactly do you call it that God does?
Miracles.
Right, so he says something and then something mysteriously happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
Magic. That's magic, right?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Where are you? The world is going to end now.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? I have begun a new religion. Here is a pamphlet. Clearly states the path of enlightenment is worth $20 to me.
Why, that's completely within your right. Have a nice day.
It
is often said that the tongue is the strongest muscle in the human body.
Flexible yet firm, it is the rudder.
Just as a small spark can set the entire forest ablaze,
Just as a tiny key can unlock the largest of vaults,
so too is the tongue a key.
It is the key to all articulation.
capable of delivering a person's most powerful convictions.
Don't let your voice go unheard.
This message is brought to you by the NAB Education Foundation, the Broadcast Education Association, McCormick Foundation, and this station.
Our forefathers fought to guarantee the right of religious freedom for all Americans.
The separation of church and state, as guaranteed in our Constitution, must be preserved.
Each day, men and women in our military are being denied this right. How can we let this happen in the greatest nation in the world?
The Military Religious Freedom Foundation is leading the fight for justice for our noble and honorable soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, and veterans.
As we continue to fight in the courts, in the media, and in the minds and hearts of our fellow citizens, we need your support. Please donate to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation by going to militaryreligiousfreedom.org. Your generous tax-deductible pledge will help protect religious freedom in America.
If you like what you see here, please donate to modernpagan.tv. Just go to our website, www.modernpagan.tv, and look for the donate button. We appreciate your contributions to keep modernpagan.tv on the air and on the internet. And now, back to live modernpagan.tv.
Green
All
man,
right.
perfect.
Good.
Crafty Kitchen Witch,
Love
back
it.
to you.
All right, super. Woo! Is that fun? I think I'm going to sign up for some leaves up my arm. So, all right. Drumming.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. we have a whole
Toys.
array. We
Toys.
we have drums everywhere and noisemakers and
Stuff.
stuff and bells and whistles. Well, maybe
No
not.
whistles
I just
yet.
say whistles.
I still have to get I still have to find a good appropriate rugby whistle. But
Oh yeah, that
I'd
works.
like to invite our audience across the world to bring out their drums and noisemakers, because in a little bit when you're drumming, they can join on in.
they certainly
Yeah.
can to help build up the energy. And that's part of the reasons why I'm here tonight on Modern Pagan TV. I, Shadow Moondragon, am holding a seminar at the Living Earth Center on the 14th and 21st of April. It's the spirituality of drumming. There are flyers for it. I have just glanced at the PDF. There will be some
But you
out.
didn't send me one because I didn't post it.
I just saw them 3 hours ago.
What's your point?
Pagan Standard Time.
Yeah.
They'll be out.
All right.
The flyers should be available at Living Earth Center. There will be an online version on the Living Earth Colorado site, and also at a couple of the percussion shops. One that's just up the street, if I can mention them.
And send one, email one to Lara, and she will
Yes.
get it up on the Modern.
It is on Modern Pagan TV. There has been a mention put up on Witchfox, I believe, and there is plans, hopefully, to get on the WRAPP site, which is Rights and Pagan Pride, their calendar, to get the word out. Again, the seminar is the 14th and 21st, starting...
So that is coming up.
Yeah, it is coming up.
People, that's like 2 weeks.
Registration information is available at livingearthcolorado.org.
And it costs how much?
And the meetup.
And Living Earth Colorado Meetup, high HRPM, whatever we're calling it this week again.
Meetup.com/Living Earth.
Meetup.com/Living Earth. That's the new title.
Okay.
Seminar is 40, I believe. It's my seminar. I am absolute poo at self-promotion. That's why I've just engaged in services of a promoter. Gwendolyn, you rock, dear. Goddess bless you.
All right. Well,
On a chance.
show us
So,
what
shall
you
we?
got here. You've got all these different drums.
All the different drums
A couple
that
of
I
which
have
I've
here.
never seen before.
What I have here are a couple. These actually are on long-term loan from one of the staff people here, Laura Wade Dahlberg. What I have here is Indian tabla. I've only had this for about 3 weeks, so I'm still getting used to it. I should say my drumming style, and I will go to, I will give props to all the Afro-Cuban drummers out there, but this seminar is more geared towards bringing the spirit out within and not just being loud. So, anyway, what we have here is tabla. Finger runs.
You're going to be teaching that.
I'm going to be using this as part of the entering spirituality.
Okay, now people have to bring their own drums?
Yes, because I do not think there's going to be very many loaners available, if any.
Okay.
What we have here is a banyan, a little larger version. It is copper, silver plate copper.
Wow.
You actually use a silver hammer to tune the thing.
Who knew? I like that.
Different types. Now, the one I'm going to be doing the main.
You don't have a baron.
Sorry?
You don't have a baron.
No, I haven't played a baron in years.
Oh, I love my baron.
But if we have a moment here, I'll give you a little mini concert. I was at a seminar a couple of weeks ago from the percussionists from Santana, Carl Panozzo and Raul Reina. In fact, they signed my
drum head?
No, they signed the actual drum.
Oh. Okay.
But one of the things that they stressed, and that I stress, is when you're playing, you actually, as Shimsad earlier said, you are drawing down, especially in the spirit mode. And we'll be discussing that at the seminar as well. But you are actually drawing down a piece of the goddess, a piece of the muse, and using that drumming to build the energy. So we'll have a moment here. I think I've got myself somewhat, and we'll do a little mini concert here. is that I don't even know what kind of drum this is. It's not a djembe. It's not a djembe. It's an African. Don't see many of these. Thank you. But as you can see, it's the building of the energy, the spiritual energy, the magic. That's what the seminar is intended to do, to help use the drum, to use the abilities. And we're going to do as much as we can. There's even one part of the seminar that touches into the shamanic tradition a bit. And basically, what's around that I can drum on? And I actually bring in a 5-gallon drum from Home Depot and use that.
I've heard you drum on something like that.
Yes, you have. You saw that.
I did.
So,
I said, you'll drum on anything.
darn straight, and that's part of it.
One of the things going on at the community center is a regular Friday night meeting and drumming, right? And
Yes, exactly.
You're part of that quite a bit of the time, aren't you?
Part of the time. I usually do the end of the month one, but I show up
Yeah.
at the Friday night. Those start at the social time at 7, and we like to get the drumming going about 8-ish. And basically that's at the Living Earth Community Center, the Living Earth Center. It is 2106? 2160. A little dyslexic. South Holly. It's basically Holly and Evans. Just go south. Look for the spiritual energy. We'll be there.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, thank
we're going to take it out with a bit more?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, please.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Not this weekend, but next.
Yes.
Thank you
14th
all.
and 21st.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you all for joining
Thank
us.
our wonderful studio audience. Thank the audience out there.
Thanks to our technical crew.
Yeah. Without whom we would not be live.
Exactly.
So, all right. So.
All right, there we go. Good night.
Good
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Thanks for watching Modern Pagan TV. We'll be back at the same time and the same place next week with more. If you like what you see here, please go to our website, www.modernpagan.tv, and contribute generously. And don't forget to tell all your friends about Modern Pagan TV. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and visit our site regularly. We'll see you next week with more Modern Pagan TV. To all people of all spiritual beliefs, we say good night, namaste, and blessed be.